All right, guys. This is actually a big section because this is like the mantle for greatest ever superhero movie, which has now come into question.
People have called Iron Man
because of the Dark Knight, it has been called into question. Now we've already talked about the fact that fandom sank to a very low depth, and that's the reason why 5 stars don't actually mean anything anymore. Good reviews mean nothing. Fans saying that this is an amazing movie means nothing because not too long ago, Spider-Man 2 was the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Jonathan Ross should not be believed.
Yes. Before that, Spider-Man 1 was the greatest superhero movie of all time. Then after that, Iron Man was the greatest, co-sharing the greatest superhero movie of all time with Spider-Man 2. Then now, Dark Knight is so for me it's like you can't actually take any of this stuff seriously. You have to just take a step back and say, what's the truth of the pie? And in my view, Superman 1 is still the greatest superhero movie of all time. In my humble opinion. The Merc said so. People are going to be jumping on this YouTube page and saying that you're insane, you're crazy. Superman 1 is still the greatest superhero movie of all time. But the fact that The Dark Knight can be compared to it is an incredible achievement because in my opinion The Dark Knight is second, and that's crazy that it took 30 years for a movie for me to be able to say that, you know what, despite how great Richard Donner's film was, Dark Knight, I can actually talk about it. I can actually think about it because I was in the cinema thinking that, man, is this better than Superman? Nah, they had Reeve, anyway, sorry.
In my opinion, I'm not going to waste time. Nothing in this bloody world can be compared to Superman 1. The Dark Knight is not in the same league.
You know?
Okay. Can I?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm saying that, but this is my opinion. Okay, Dark Knight, Tim Burton is not in the same league as Superman 1.
It is another
There
level.
is nothing I've ever experienced that has ever been any. The only movie in the same league as Superman 1 is Empire Strikes Back, and that's the last I'm saying. Next.
No, I mean, for me to comment, I think because I was actually going to say after the like or what you got? No. I mean, what you got? Like, I mean, what was saying that I just actually think that you could even compare Dark Knight to because as you were saying, I'm just saying like Superman 1 is what I mean compared to like Superman 1 is number 1.
Oh,
okay.
As in like
okay.
The Dark Knight, it has like for me like as I said, Batman was really in the film because like I just remembered the scene where
Superman 1 was
the first 15 minutes of Superman, the scenes in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, it's too much.
The characterization of Superman and the story arc of Superman and the acting of him and what happens to the main character, like
it's too much, man.
There was no characterization of Batman in Begins or Dark Knight. There was no story arc like what you saw in Superman 1. So I think like no comic book movie has come close to Superman 1. As good as Dark Knight is and Christopher Nolan,
it hasn't. I haven't even come
like
close.
Guys, you know what you guys need to do? When you've watched Dark Knight 4 or 5 times, sit down
in a good cinema.
Sit down and just like at your home, take this on DVD, get all your friends out, and watch that film from beginning to end, and be truthful with the emotions that you feel after you watch that film. As a whole.
Somebody said it. Somebody said a very good point, and he said, "Listen, this is what I felt," and it just capitalizes. You are actually enchanted by the time you leave the cinema or you leave watching Superman 1 for the first time. When you first saw that thing, you're like enchanted. It's like you've been shown something that you've never seen in your entire life before that point. You've never seen it ever. There was no basis for what Superman 1 was. There's no basis for it. Like we've already said, Dark Knight is a good film.
But then again, I was enchanted by Matrix, but it's not in the same league.
Matrix is the only movie that I've ever seen that I could actually even talk about in when you say in the same league. For me, Superman 1 is the greatest film I've ever seen in my life, but I can still talk about the Matrix 1 because that was insane. That was crazy. That's the movie that I came out of that thing and my head was like spinning.
So guys,
Matrix
I will
1
always
was crazy.
say Reloaded changeman. That is my personal but it's a very if you want to be subjective and personal and egoistic, Reloaded is the greatest thing that Earth has produced. Okay? but
to him.
Yes, to me.
To him.
If we're going to be,
not to me.
But if we're going to be objective, and talking about comic book movies,
Earth has.
yes. If we're going to be objective about everything, guys, man, really, Superman 1
Because I mean,
you have to be realistic.
I really told guys that, listen, do you know who Christopher Reeve actually is? Because see, guys have forgotten. They keep forgetting, and they keep need to get reminded. Guys, Superman lived. He lived amongst us as humans. Like, somehow Richard Donner managed to find an actor who brought Superman to life. So that if you saw Christopher Reeve walking down the street, it is Superman. Like, he created... It went beyond like there's some scenes in that movie that I can watch it as a clip in and of itself. I get emotional watching the scene because he took it to such a level. The scene when Lois Lane is buried in the crack and she's dead, and he tries to rips open the door, tries to bring her. The death was so huge, and his reaction was so huge. You see, look at Christian Bale's reaction to Rachel Dawes dying. He tried, but that thing is not in the same region as what Christopher Reeve's face said when Lois Lane died. Christopher Reeve's reaction when they put the kryptonite chain around his neck, when he was with Lex Luthor. Christopher Reeve's reaction when Christopher Reeve was basically going to questioning whether or not to tell Lois Lane who he really was, and he took off his glasses and there's so much in that movie of subtleties. There's so much in it.
And when was this made?
1979. There's so much in it that I believe, time has passed and people say, oh, it's campy. It's this. No, it's not. Yeah, there's camp involved, but it's done properly. It's done well. And you see that movie as a whole. The first 30 minutes of Superman 1 is probably the greatest section of movies that I've ever seen, other than the last 20 minutes of Predator, which I think you can actually top the last 20 minutes of Predator. But the first 30 minutes of Superman, up till the point when he flies at the screen, which blew my brains out when I first saw it, is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, up to that point, it's like, what is this? TDK never reached that level, but the fact that I questioned it for a moment in my mind shows the quality of The Dark Knight, because no film has made me actually think about it. I go into movies not even thinking about comparing it to Superman 1. This is the only film that I was like, man, I was sitting there, and like, by the time the Batpod thing, it went up the wall and flipped, I was like, I was thinking, is this better than Superman? Is it? No, it's not. But I thought about it. I felt ashamed to think about it, but I did. Sorry?
I wasn't saying anything.
No, that's said that. They wouldn't chime in.
Yeah, any finished cap-offs?
I've already said that there's nothing to say. They're the only movie in the same league as Superman is Empire Strikes Back, and actually, the truth is, I'm talking rubbish because nothing can ever beat the Empire Strikes Back in my mind. There's nothing in this world that will ever beat it. Nolan called Empire Strikes... See, it is very, very rude because Nolan called out Empire Strikes Back the name. He called it out, and it was wrong to do so. Because you call it out, we'll have to think about it.
I think in truth, what Phantom of Hope is saying about Empire Strikes Back, let me just qualify because I don't shame myself. It's true. It is true. Like, nothing can actually beat Empire Strikes Back. Okay, correct. I want to just go on record as saying that.
Okay, and I'll double the record. Nothing will ever beat Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, you can't do it.
Empire Strikes Back is the greatest thing I've ever
seen. Yes.
And I don't agree.
But my favorite movie is Superman 1, okay. But the greatest thing I've ever seen is Empire Strikes Back.
The greatest thing I've ever seen is Empire Strikes Back, and my favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back, and I think it holds the 3 positions under that. So I start counting as of number 5. So all I'm saying is that basically it's a waste of time. So don't bother with Empire Strikes Back. And the thing is that Nolan, being the intelligent man he is, called out that film. So you guys back there watching who's going, oh, what's the big deal? Nolan himself called out Empire Strikes Back.
He knows. And let's be honest, TDK is the Empire Strikes Back of his trilogy, because the things he was going for in this movie is pretty much what Empire Strikes Back did. Whereby pretty much, look at The Dark Knight, everything went bad.